Hello, YouTube, and welcome back to another episode of Talking Movies. Today, I want to talk about a movie that's been on my mind for quite a while because of how mind blowing it is when you first watch it and just how ahead of its time it was, and that is Perfect Blue. But before we get down to the nitty gritty of why this movie is so special, I just want to say that I'm an absolute sucker for anime from the late 80s, early 2000s. We were getting a lot of great stuff at this time. We was getting like early Studio Ghibli works such as Lapida Castle in the Sky, Princess Mononoke. We was also getting legendary movies that inspired not only the Japanese film industry but the Western film industry such as Akira, Ghost in the Shell. There would be so many movies that wouldn't have got made if it hadn't been for Akira and Ghost in the Shell, and the impact of those movies can still be felt to this day. Uh, we were also getting a lot of banger like series as well. We got stuff like Dragon Ball Z. Berserk got its first and only good adaptation back in 1997 that unfortunately did not continue. We was also getting stuff like Cowboy Bebop, the Cowboy Bebop movie. We also got Inuyasha, which is another great anime series, and just so much more. I could just go on all day just telling you about how special anime was from this era. And if you haven't, you need to really buckle down and watch some of the stuff that I just told you because this stuff is it's truly special. This era of animation and storytelling was just absolute peak. But without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to one of those uh, special animes from that era, and that is Perfect Blue. Perfect Blue is a psychological thriller that was released back in 1997 by Japanese filmmaker Satoshi Kon. This was his debut film, by the way. This story follows pop idol named Mima who grows tired of her life as a pop idol and decides to pursue a career in acting. But as she pursues that career, she quickly discovers that the acting gig isn't what she thought it was as she becomes a paranoid victim of a deranged stalker. I really don't want to spoil much about this movie or this story because it's something that has so many twists and turns that you just have to experience it for yourself because it will just leave you speechless after you watch it. You're probably going to want to watch it again just to take in everything that you just experienced and find out what you missed on your first viewing. But let's talk about our main character a little bit. The main character, Mima, goes through so much throughout this movie. It's honestly insane just how much stuff she goes through. We're first introduced to this innocent pop idol who just wants to take her career to the next level and become an actress. And she will do anything to become an actress, and I do mean anything. And this puts her on a path to where others sexually exploit and degrade her in ways you can't even imagine. All while this is happening, an online website emerges called Mima's Room that just gaslights Mima into questioning her own identity and the choices she made leaving her old life behind. And all this leads to Mima having a severe psychological breakdown, and she can't even differentiate what is reality and what is a dream. Mima is just a very tragic and well written character that goes through so much in this movie, and her character arc comes together beautifully at the end. Um, this wasn't my first time watching Perfect Blue. Normally, most of the movies that I review on here is going to be like my first time watches. But I watched Perfect Blue about a year ago and I was very disturbed by it. And it's been on my mind a lot here lately. And I just wanted to watch it again and um, tell you the reason why I thought it was so disturbing. And part of that is it's not only just how well this story is told and that it pulls no punches whatsoever in telling its story, but it also tackles a lot of taboo topics, such as a very real take on someone that has dissociative identity disorder, the dangers of celebrity culture and public image, like for instance how intense and violent fan obsession can lead to, the lasting effects that a stalker can have on a person's psyche. And lastly, this movie kind of eerily predicts how some of us use social media in a very negative and toxic way towards others. The last really creeps me out because if you think about it, this movie was made in the early the early infancy of the internet, and this movie is kind of like a warning sign of like how some people will go on to use the internet in the future, especially towards like in a like I mentioned, a toxic way towards others. One last thing I want to talk about before we wrap up, because I don't want this video to go on too long, is two things. Just how good this soundtrack is. This soundtrack is just absolutely haunting, and it will absolutely just terrify you. And it's very tense and suspenseful, and it just adds to the atmosphere of this movie. And the editing, especially the editing of this movie towards the end, it's just masterfully done. Like this is one of the best like movies that has like a lot of edits in it. Like it just does edits so well. And what I mean by that is when Mima goes through her mental breakdown, we see a lot of cuts from reality and what she's hallucinating about. And this is just done on a brilliant level, and it leaves you feeling just how Mima feels. And we as an audience also is questioning what is real and what isn't. Satoshi Kon just did a masterful job at like editing his movie towards the second half, and it really just makes you question like, was this real? Like, what did I just watch? Like, is it was this something that she actually done, or was this something that she just hallucinated or dreamed about? Like, it's just it's amazing. Um, Perfect Blue is just such a banger, and I love how this movie just has like a psychedelic and dreamlike feel to it. And after you just get done watching it, it'll just make you question just everything you just watched. It's a movie that I recommend to anyone who is a fan of classic anime movies such as myself, or anyone who loves deep psychological thrillers such as Alfred Hitchcock and other stuff that feels very psychedelic and dreamlike, such as David Lynch. This movie is basically a good way to describe it for people that's not familiar with these types of movies is it's like if Alfred Hitchcock and David Lynch made an anime. I really think it would be this. I will say though, this movie can be very triggering, especially to people who have experienced some of these things. So I strongly recommend if you watch this movie, proceed with extreme caution. That's all I have today on this episode of Talking Movies. Thank you for watching my video. See ya.